In an isolated woodland in Norfolk sits a chapel that's been abandoned for many years. I'm not going to be naming the location of this chapel or any of the names of the people involved with it, simply to try and protect the building itself. Now, I know in recent years it has made its way onto a number of online forums regarding urban exploration, so with a bit of digging you will be able to find the location of it, but I certainly just don't want to broadcast it out there because it has managed to escape any kind of form of vandalism or theft from it, and obviously naming it and making it easy to find where it is obviously could draw potential vandals towards it and get the building damaged. In regards to the history of it, it's actually quite interesting. There was a man who came from, I believe it was Czechoslovakia, was born sort of early end of the 20th century, and to escape the war when the Germans invaded, he moved to Poland, joined the Polish resistance. Obviously Poland then fell and he moved to France, where he also joined the army in France, before finding himself in Britain, where he ended up spending the rest of his life marrying his wife and working in a car factory until his retirement. He then moved to this particular part of the country and spent many of his days living in the woods, and actually built this chapel by hand in dedication to his wife. Now, I find it fascinating that a man has built this entire chapel out of just sheer passion. Obviously it shows his dedication to his faith and dedication to his wife as well. Now, it does run very close to a Roman road, and obviously with being a Roman road there will of course be Roman activity in the area. Potentially this is built on land which the Romans would have used. I also think potentially it's just it's a beautiful part of countryside here that it's surrounded by, and I think it was, he chose this location because it was so serene and so peaceful. And, I don't know if there is any kind of paranormal activity here. I think this may just be more of an exploration, but I'm going to perform a very small investigation in here and just see if there is anything going on. Is there anybody here in this chapel with us? My name's Luke. Just come here to visit today. It's a lovely little place. Never been here before. I'd heard a few people say how nice it is here, so I thought I'd come and visit. I understand that there was one man who built all of this. Absolute dedication to have managed to build and create all of this. Yeah, it's absolutely silent. The other thing is I don't even get any strange feelings here. The weird thing is sometimes I've been to a few churches and chapels, and it's got this really, not anything bad or heavy, but just a really overwhelming sort of sense of peace. But I don't even get that here, really. It is only small. It kind of resembles more sort of a small outbuilding sort of thing rather than a church. It's a very strange building, but certainly not feeling anything here. Is there anything you could do in here to let me know you're with me? It's a big bee. Or could you maybe play the organ? Give us a tune. Yeah, in a way, it's not. I wasn't really expecting to get anything
paranormal from here anyway. It was more just a case to come and visit. It's not too far away. But the fact there have been no real massive reports of hauntings or anything. People have come here and said it's a bit spooky at night, especially out in the woods around the outside of it, but then it has got that sort of creepy looking gate at the front, so I'd imagine that would add to that. But the fact there's been no reports of hauntings, it's unlikely that I would get anything from here. Certainly, we've only been here a short while, but certainly there's nothing to support that there would be anything going on. But it just does go to show that not everywhere that's sort of abandoned and strange looking is necessarily haunted. I think a lot of the like the benches around the edge, I think the organ, I'd imagine some other bits and pieces in here I think were actually donated to the man that built this. I don't know whether they've come out of churches or whether they're they've been donated from elsewhere. There is, yes, I'd say there's quite a few chairs in here. I don't know how many people would have actually come and sort of worshipped in here or used it at any one time. There's obviously a fair few chairs and benches around the side, so it's kitted up to hold a fair few people. So have a quick look outside. That's such a nice place, but yeah, I mean, as I mentioned earlier, with like these gates, I think it does look a bit eerier outside than it does actually in the building itself. Like certainly at night, if you came here and you saw these gates covered in cobwebs, I think you would get a little bit like, have a bit of a spooky vibe. But certainly once you're inside the building, that disappears. It's quite comfortable in there. And actually, in terms of decay, it's not too bad really. It certainly could be brought back to life easily. We'll just have a quick look around the outside of the building. There's obviously a little outhouse here. I don't know. You can see at the back, there's sort of breeze blocks, but I don't know if that's been a repair. It's certainly not the same brickwork that's on the rest of the building, so I don't know whether that's a repair that's been done here, which indicates that there is an element of upkeep to it. But there's just all sorts in there. I think there's some woodwork that looks like it may have been surplus from inside the chapel. I think there's a bicycle over there. It looks like maybe a sink. So maybe this was a toilet, I don't know. Or a washroom of some sort. Let's see the Virgin Mary Church or chapel there. Yeah, I mean, you can see the scale of it just by... That is it. It is absolutely tiny. I think in all honesty, it's probably one of the smallest locations I've attempted to investigate. It is absolutely tiny. But again, it's one of those places that's interesting, somewhere that's hidden away, somewhere that not a huge amount of people would go to, and not a lot of people obviously know about it either. Although an interesting place, no paranormal activity was picked up on at the chapel. This, however, was a complete contrast to what I would experience at the next location. This evening I've returned to a place that I first visited about a year ago. Now the story of this location and my relationship to it goes back about 3 years, where one of our viewers contacted us and said that he'd been out walking his dog one evening and stumbled across this little wooded area amongst some fields in Norfolk. And he said with him walking into the little wooded area he discovered some graves here. And he said it's a very interesting place. He could find no information about it online, and said he wondered what I thought of it. So I decided last year eventually to come out and have a look at it for myself. And I was rather surprised. It is an extremely strange place. There's just fields surrounding it and a tiny little wooded area, probably no more than 100 yards by 100 yards wide, and there's 4 little graves within it. And I really came to just visit the place, just have a look at it. And I did decide while I was there, I did bring a couple of pieces of equipment with me. And I thought, well, while I'm here, I'll have a look, see if there's anything else going on. And to my surprise, and it was very much to my surprise, I picked up on magnetic fields coming from this area. Like I mentioned, it is really in the middle of nowhere. There are some farms dotted about nearby, and there is a train line that runs fairly close by. However, I've been told, and I have looked into it, the train line isn't actually electrified. And personally, I think the farms are a little too far away to be interacting with this area here. I mean, there's nothing probably for about half a mile away. But the interesting thing with the magnetic readings was they fluctuated. It wasn't a constant reading. It came and it went, and it came and it went. And I went home and did a little bit of research on this location, and it's one of the very few times I could find absolutely nothing about this place. I don't know who the people are that are buried here. I don't know what the purpose of this burial ground was. I don't know if there's other burials here. I know nothing. I was able to find the burial records of the people that are here, but there was no information about their lives, who they were, so all of that really is a mystery. I was told, again by one of our viewers, that it was a Quaker burial ground, but I've not been able to find anything really to back that up, or any other information that would support that. So to me, this really is a bit of a mysterious area, and it was those magnetic field readings that inspired me to come back. So I'm going to spend a bit of time here this afternoon, and I'm going to really just push it a bit further, see if there is anything else going on here, if there is anything that's intelligent that could communicate with me. And maybe, I'm hoping, try and find out who these people are that are buried here and answer some questions. Hello. My name's Luke. I don't know if anybody here remembers me. I visited here quite some time ago, and I was wondering if there was anybody around here that would like to talk to me at all. I've been trying to learn about this place, trying to see who's buried here, why this burial plot is here. And I was wondering if anybody could maybe come and talk to me, try and help me understand. I've got a small device in my hand here, my left hand that I'm holding. Are you able to come up to that? And can you try and touch it there we are, I've got a spike already. Thank you very much. Thank you. I hope you're okay with me being here. Like I said, I don't mean you any harm. It's more so fascination that's brought me back here, trying to learn who's here, really. What I do is I go to places all over the country, all over Great Britain, and I try and talk to people that have gone before me, or whoever you may be. I'm not entirely sure who I'm communicating with here. That's definitely you interacting with it. Can you give me one more spike? There we are. Thank you very much. That's absolutely fantastic you're doing that for me. What I'd really like today is if I could communicate with whoever's here, which I know you're trying to do at the moment, and you're doing a very good job of it. I don't know if you're able to see it. I've got a little instrument placed down on the floor just over there. It's got a metal rod, a metal antenna sticking out of it. Would you be able to interact with that at all? Could you touch that antenna or move around it? It'll make a horrible noise, but I assure you that's it's not an intent to startle you. I don't like the noise either, but it's just another way that hopefully we can communicate. Another way that we'll be able to learn about each other. So already there seems to be something going on here. I'm incredibly surprised at that. I mean, again picking up magnetic readings around this place where there should be none. And they seem to be intelligent. They seem to be responding to when I was talking and asking questions. And if that is the case, I'm hoping to push that communication further. But if that is the case, then whoever's here obviously seems very willing to talk. I remember the first time I came here, I said that it doesn't feel like a place that's haunted. It doesn't have that kind of ambience about it. And I still stand by that. I don't think it does. But what I do think it does, and I think it did last time, is it feels incredibly peaceful here. And, you know, I think maybe that is the energy that's here. Maybe it's not a sort of loud and outcoming energy. Maybe it is just a very peaceful place. Even with the racket of the farm going on in the background, you know, I still feel very calm, very at ease in this environment. So I'm going to try and push the communication a bit further. But so far, you know, I'm really quite shocked and quite happy, you know, that maybe there is something here that wants to communicate and is willing to come forwards.
Is there anybody still here with me? You still around? Yeah. If you're able to, what I'd like to do is if we can get some kind of communication going between us, what I'd like you to do is I'm going to ask you some questions. If the answer is yes, would you be able to make this instrument spike? And if the answer is no, could you not do anything? Is that okay? Do you understand that? Yes? Brilliant. Thank you very much. First off, are you okay with me being here? Okay, that's good. Are you one of the people that's buried here? You are? Okay. Are you one of the graves that's to my left? Are you one of the graves that's to my right? Okay. Is this your grave here? Is this where you're buried? Are you William? William Seago? Are you Anne Seago? Or are you related to the grave that's the little grave that's down here? Is this your grave? Are you still here with me? Is there anybody still here?
That is fascinating. There was obviously very intelligent communication going on there, and we got to the point where we were trying to validate who I was communicating with, and it's just vanished. So to anybody saying that the magnetic fields that I'm picking up around here are just naturally occurring, you know, they just exist, whether it be naturally made or you know, artificial, they wouldn't disappear like that. They'd be constant. So that to me says that what was going on there was communication with something, someone.
Okay, if there's anyone still around me, I've got an instrument here. Again, I don't know if it's something that you'll be able to interact with. I don't know how you can affect the world, my world, our world. But I've got this here, and I wondered if it was maybe something that you could use to communicate. I'm not sure how aware you are of static electricity. You know, when things go snap, crackle and pop. That's what this will detect. Static electricity. So if you are able to, I don't know, come around that or touch it or
best case scenario, if you've got the strength to, knock it off of there. You know, I know it's never good to throw things around, but I think it would be interesting if you could. And don't worry about breaking it. Could you come and speak? What I'd like is if I could hear your voice. Could you speak into this in my left hand? Speak really loudly and clearly. Could you tell me your name, please? Is there anything you'd like to say?
So it certainly seems that whoever was here with me has gone. I've not had any other interaction since then. It's absolutely bizarre, and you know what? That little bit of interaction I had was very personal. You know, it's not often we have activity where something gets... You feel like you're directly interacting with something. Sometimes we see things, we feel things, we hear things, but to get something that's intelligent communicating with you, that you can't see, you can't feel, is incredible. And it's a real privilege to have been able to experience that, albeit for a very short period of time. And, you know, that's the sort of thing that keeps me doing this. There's definitely something unusual going on in this little place. I think it's very benign, I think it's very friendly, I think it wants to talk, it wants to communicate. But for whatever reason, the time limit and the time frame for how long they can communicate for is, you know, not governed by themselves or ourselves. It just seems to be one of those things.